Welcome back, guys. So today we are going to be looking at the pencil tool. The pencil tool is used to create freehand sketch. Alright, so there will be points in your illustration that you will want to have a tool that you could use to draw anything you want. Of course, the pen tool and the curvature tool can possibly do what I'm about to do, but you will find pencil tool handy when it comes to doing exactly what I want to do right now. First thing you want to do is to make sure that your pencil tool is very smooth. So once I double click on that, it's going to give me the options of the fidelity. I already have mine on smooth region. If you have it on the accurate region, you will kind of have like a little sort of bumps when you draw your freehand sketch. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to have it as accurate. Click OK. I'm going to draw something. I have my outline color as white. Let me increase the weight. You go to stroke. If you don't have your stroke here, quickly go to window, scroll down, you're going to find your stroke here. So I'm going to increase the stroke to make it 4. Yeah, you can see how the bumps I'm seeing here. I'm seeing some sort of bumps here. It's not looking very smooth. But see what happened when I change this thing to smooth. I'm going to drag it all the way to smooth. I'm going to make similar shape. Let me try to draw the same thing. Alright, you can see the difference. You can see how smooth here is looking, and here we kind of have some sort of bumps here, but it's automatically smoothing the parts for me. So I'm gonna exit out, Ctrl 0. Let me delete all this. Now you could play around. Let's say you have a picture and you want to have some sort of line around the picture to make it look unique. You can use a pencil tool to draw some freehand sketch on that. I'm gonna make some. I'm gonna stop here. Right, you can see how unique this picture is looking. Let me drag this to this region. Now there are several things you could actually do to this shape to make it look good. Here is you will see that automatically here is rounded, not because yours might not be looking like this. It's actually because my selected cap here is rounded. By default, it's always at the butt cap. Once you click on the butt cap, you can see how sharp here is. I don't want this to happen. If I prefer to have a round cap, I can choose this. If you love the butt cap, feel free to use it. Projecting caps is the same thing as the butt cap, but this time around, instead of ending where the line stopped, it's going to project a little bit more away from the line. So once I click on that, you can see what happened. It added this small portion here again because it's projecting. But I would prefer to have it round. Let me go out. Then there are some other things that you could do. You could see in this region here, we kind of have here rounded as well. The reason why I have this rounded is because I have my corners to be round. Okay, so if I change it to mitre, you could see how sharp it's looking, like something as butt cap, right? But it's happening at the corner side. And I also have another one called bevel. Bevel is kind of like chamfer. If I click on that, it behaves the same way as this. And you could see the limit here. You could decide to increase this. It's automatically at 10. I like it there. If you want to play around this, feel free to play around it. All right, so there are some other things again that you may want to do to this line that you just drew with your pencil. You could decide to have it become a dashed line. Once I select my dashed line, you would see I have several dashes here right now. You can see how this is looking. Very unique stuff. It adds some sort of texture to your image. All right, I can play around with the dash. I can decide to reduce it to, let's say, 5. I can also decide to minimize the gap. Let's say I have it as 20. And if my gap is much like this, I can decide to reduce the gap. Let's say I make it 5. You see it's a bit closer. If it's close enough, I can maybe make it 9. Say I can make it even 10. So depending on whatever you want, just feel free to play around it. You could decide to even add some kind of fiery texture here. You could get your pencil tool and make that happen to this car. See that? So it's looking unique. Whatever you just want to do, just feel free to use a pencil tool to do that. Now I'm going to play around these guys that are dancing here. There are some things I'm going to add here using my pencil tool. I can decide to kind of have some sort of line go around the lady and connected to the man too. You would have seen people do these things to some of their images and you'll be wondering, how did they do this? Of course, you know, everything I'm doing right now, you can also achieve it using your, you guessed it right, your pen tool, your line tool, but you know, some tools are good to be used for some kind of things. So you know, if you want to use some other tool to do these same things, you may achieve the same result, but it might take you a longer time. So that's why I'm teaching you all this. So that's why I'm unveiling how to use the pencil tool, so that you could find this thing handy for whatever thing that you are doing. Whoa, you can see how this is looking right now. So let's say you want to play around something, you are designing something for your client that dances, and you just want to introduce some kind of unique lines to it. You can use your pencil to do that. Let me reduce this to maybe 12. Yeah, I can even reduce it more. Let me make it 8. Yep. So once I'm happy with that, I can stop. Of course, I can also play around this line if I don't want this thing to be a uniform line. Like you can see, whenever I select my line, you can see there are some other things added here. So I can decide to increase the stroke weight, which I can also do here. All right. I can also decide to play with the arrowhead of this. If I click on this, I can find some other stuff here. You can see I don't have any arrowhead here. I have it as no. If I select arrowhead, you can see it added an arrow here. If I want to add to the end, I can also pick one arrow and you can see from it added the arrow from the start point to the finish point. I don't want that. I'm going to make it none. And of course, you can see here, you can also scale it down, you can scale it up, you can align it, you can do whatever. You can toggle around this and see what you're going to get. Let me just quickly show you some other things I want you to know about playing around with the lines that you have. Perhaps you don't want to have lines on this, you want to have some other things, brushes or something. You could actually go to this particular brush dimensions here and pick whatever thing you want. You could see by default I'm on basic, that's what you are seeing here. If I pick points, let's say this rounded point, it changes this, right? You can see how this thing is looking. If I pick a bigger one, let's say 15, you can see how different this thing is looking. If I pick this one over, you can see how different. So you could pick a lot. You can say, wow, this is looking unique. Wow. So you can say you can play around this as much as you want. Let me select this and go back and continue what I'm doing. Now you could select some other things like this brush here, like this shaku feather. If I click on that, it will give this a different look. You can see that a different look. I can also click on the library here, the brush library, and pick any one I want. Let me just quickly go to vector pack, go to brush vector. If I click on that, you could see some other ones that you can play around with. Let me drag this down. Pick the whoa, you can see what this one is doing. So once you are comfortable with what you have, you can decide to choose. You're at liberty, to choose whatever you want. I can go back to my library, go back to work, maybe go to Wacom, see another thing, maybe pick this to see how it's gonna appear. Like this. So you have a lot that you can play around with, right? You can also still go back there and go to your library, play around some other things that you have here to see what it's gonna give you. Oh, I have some other powerful tools here. If I click on this, it's gonna give me something different. It'll give me something different. You see that? It's giving me something different. Yeah, but I think I prefer what this gave me. So that's basically how to use this tool. You can play around with your stroke, play around with the brushes that you want to use, until you get absolutely whatever you wish to have. Remember, whatever I did here with the pencil tool can also be achieved with what you guessed it right, with the pen tool. You can see I still have those kind of dotted line happening here. I can decide to use my curvature tool to do the same thing. Yeah, you can see it's happening too. Let me escape. I can decide to use my line tool to do the same thing. You see it still happen. So whichever one comes in handy, just feel free to use whatever you want. Feel free, you are at liberty to use whatever you want. Okay, all right, see you in the next video.